නමෝ තස් භගවතු අරහතු සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස් භගවතු අරහතු සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස් භගවතු අරහතු සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස අප්පමාදෝ අමත පදං පමාදෝ මච්චුනෝ පදං අප්පමත්තා නමීයන්ති යේ පමත්තා යතා මත්තා. Friends, now you all are going to listen to a short Dhamma talk. For this Dhamma talk, our topic is how mindfulness leads to liberation. Let's first understand what mindfulness is. Mindful does not mean that mind is full. Our mind should be empty, not full with many stuff. Whenever our mind is full with many things, we have many problems, dukkha. But mind should be emptied. Our mind, when we talk about mind, this so-called man or woman means mind and matter, the existence of mind and matter. What is matter is earth, water, heat, air. These four elements. What you call mind is, that is called nama. Nama means feeling, perception, volitional formations, contact and attention. Here the mind has three aspects. Our mind has three aspects: emotional aspect, intellectual aspect and perceptual aspect. When the mind is connected to our heart, it is called emotional aspect of our mind. When the mind is connected to brain, it is called intellectual aspect of mind. When the mind is connected to senses, it is called perceptual aspect of mind. This mind, human's mind, is a developed mind in comparison to other beings. So this mind, our mind, human's mind, can be developed further, and that can be developed for the perfection, which is called Buddhahood. So the Buddha did this, and after that Buddha revealed this to the world. And then his disciples, they themselves practiced this. They themselves developed their mind to the perfection. Yes, that is Arahanthood. So that whatever you call the Buddhahood, the Supreme Buddha, Pacceka Buddha, the silent Buddhas, and the Arahants, they all are Buddhas. They are those who developed their mind. So according to Buddhism, this Dhamma is within. It is not something given from outside. One has to develop mind and understand this Dhamma within oneself. So what one can understand within is the nature, the real nature of existence. That is through vipassana, through meditation. When we practice meditation, there are two levels of meditation: samatha and vipassana. Samatha means concentration, tranquility, serenity. Vipassana means see through, insight. So when we practice vipassana, we can understand the reality, the real nature of existence within us and without, both. The whole system of the world. So that then what can we see through Vipassana? We can see only three things, which are called three characteristics of existence. What are the three characteristics of existence? All things are ever changing. All things, animate or inanimate, all things are ever changing. That is what is called impermanence. Nothing permanent in the world. Then whatever is in the nature of changing, it is, if grasped, unsatisfactory. That is dukkha. Anicca is impermanent. Second characteristic is dukkha. It is unsatisfactory. Then whatever is impermanence, unsatisfactory, there is no unchanging thing, entity, no substance in the world, no permanent entity. That is what is called soullessness, without a self. So, impermanence, unsatisfactoriness and soullessness, these three are called three marks, three characteristics of existence. When we understand these three characteristics, we do not cling to things. So to understand this, we have to develop our mind. The way to develop mind is the development of mindfulness. Now, mindfulness, what mindfulness is? Mindfulness means attention, giving attention, awareness, alertness, earnestness, all these are encompassed. Buddha used the term sati. Sati means mindfulness. So it means that you are here in the present moment. Physically and mentally you are here in the present moment. That is mindfulness. So the Buddha, in order to develop mindfulness, Buddha very well designed a technique. That is what we call Buddhist meditation. That is called Satipatthana meditation. Sati means mindfulness, as I said earlier. Patthana means established. Satipatthana. We have to develop, we have to establish mindfulness. When we establish mindfulness, the Buddha recommended to establish mindfulness in four different places. What are the four places? Body as body. The Buddha said body as body. Contemplate, be mindful, establish mindfulness in body. Secondly, establish mindfulness in feelings. Third, establish mindfulness in mind. And the fourth, establish mindfulness in mental objects. Those are called four establishments of mindfulness. Chattaro Satipatthana. So that is the technique. When we practice this technique, Buddha very clearly mentioned, very clearly said how to practice this. For this purpose also the Buddha recommended, first Buddha gave the places to practice. Now let's take this, let's understand this technique for some time, then we can understand what is to be practiced. The Buddha delivered a special discourse named Satipatthana Sutta. That is the best discourse to read, to practice. That is the Buddha's technique of meditation. Satipatthana Sutta was delivered when the Buddha was living in Delhi, the present day Delhi in India, which was then called Kuru country. Where addressing the monks, the Buddha said, monks, this is the only way for the purification of beings. This is the only way for the purification of beings. For the overcoming of sorrow and lamentation, for the disappearance of pain and grief, for reaching that, and for the attainment of enlightenment. This is the only way. There are many other ways for other reasons, other things. For this purpose, for the purification of beings, this is the only way. For the overcoming of sorrow and lamentation, this is the only way. For reaching the path and attainment of enlightenment, this is the only way. What is the only way? The four establishments of mindfulness. So the Buddha then said, how to practice this? How to practice mindfulness of body as body? That is the first establishment of mindfulness. Body as body. When we practice body as body, first we have to understand we have two bodies. Breath body. Breath is a body. The Buddha said breath is a body. Observe this breath. It's a natural process. That natural process is to be observed in order to understand reality. That is to be observed objectively, not as my breath, but as breath, objectively. When we observe this objectively, we can understand the real nature of breath. What is the real nature of breath? It is ever-changing. It is ever-changing. So it is the same thing, same reality in the whole system of the world. Everything is ever-changing. So first we have to understand it within, and then we have to apply it to other things in the world. So the first Buddha said, first observe your breath and understand the nature of breath. To understand the breath, the Buddha taught another discourse named Anapanasati. Ana means breathing in, Apana means breathing out. Sati means mindfulness. So that means mindfulness of breathing in and breathing out, in which the Buddha gave 16 steps of breath. There are different steps of breath, 16 steps of breath. So in this particular discourse, Satipatthana Sutta, Buddha taught us how to practice mindfulness of breathing. Here the first Buddha said, to find a suitable place to practice meditation, practice mindfulness of breathing. Buddha recommended 3 places. Go to a woods. Go to a tree, to the foot of a tree, or to an empty house like this. So the Buddha recommended these 3 places. And then Buddha said how to sit. Sit cross-legged. Keep the body straight. And then Buddha said, give attention to the front of your face. Understand breath. That is how he guided us. He recommended this meditation, mindfulness of breathing. Then what is to be done at the beginning? Simply give attention. The Buddha said, give attention, mindfully breathing in, mindfully breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. The Buddha said, Sattova assa sati, Sattova passa sati. Satto means mindfulness. Sati, Satto, mindful. So, Sattova, mindfully, Sattova, mindfully breathing in. Assa sati. Mindfully breathing out. Sattova passa sati. That is the first thing to be done. Just to observe breath. When we observe our breath in this manner, the Buddha said, at a time, you will take a long breath. Digang va assa santo, digang assa samiti pajanati. Whenever you take a long breath, understand lone breath as lone breath. Where there is lone, then there is short as well. Then understand short breath as well. So lone breath as lone breath, short breath as short breath. That is how we differentiate breath. Then the Buddha said, understand whole breath body. Whole breath means from beginning to the end. From the beginning to the end. That means our breath touches here, somewhere around the nostrils, entrance of the nostril. Then we have to be mindful, we have to give attention and understand that touching. Then it drags in. When it goes in, we have to understand whole breath going in. When it comes out, we have to understand whole breath going out, like that. Then we can understand the breath is calming. Buddha said, understand the calming of the breath. Breathing in, calming. Breathing out, calming. So these are the 4 steps given in the Satipatthana Sutta. When we practice, when we understand, when we experience these 4 steps, our mind is calm. You come to the state of tranquility. Whereas the crossroad, we can understand what to do next. Then, if we would like, we can continue with rapture, happiness, like that. We can continue it as a concentration meditation. If we want to develop concentration meditation, so that we can develop jhana. There are 4 jhana, 4 deep meditations, 4 jhana. We can develop these 4 jhana. Or we can switch to insight. Insight means whenever you see the change in nature of your breath, arising, perishing, that is where we come to understand the change in nature. With that we can understand whatever is in the nature of changing, it is unsatisfactory and it is without the self. That is called insight meditation. So that is how we practice the first thing, mindfulness of body. To practice mindfulness of body as body, Buddha gave 6 different meditations, different objects, different sections. So, mindfulness of breathing is the first one. The second one, the Buddha said, whenever you walk, be mindful. Whenever you walk, be mindful. Whenever you stand, be mindful. Whenever you sit, be mindful. Whenever you lie down, be mindful. These are called 4 postures. That is mindfulness. That is practicing mindfulness of body. That is the second subsection. The third, Buddha said, whenever you go forward, be mindful. Whenever you come back, be mindful. Whenever you eat, be mindful. Whenever you drink, be mindful. Whenever you bite something, be mindful. Whenever you taste, be mindful. Whenever you chew it, whenever you swallow it, be mindful. Whenever you wear your clothing, whatever clothes, be mindful. Even when you use restroom, Buddha said, whenever you use restroom even, be mindful. So that is applying mindfulness into daily life. This is the important part, most important part for us. We have to apply Buddhism into daily life. Buddhism can be applied into daily life. That is why it is called a way of life. Buddhism is not a religion. It is neither a religion nor a philosophy. It's a way of life. It means we can apply now. Wherever you are, there it is. You can practice. If you are mindful, you are practicing Buddhism. if you are giving attention to a certain things, where you are practicing meditation. If you are aware of what is going on right here, what is going on now, you are practicing Buddhism. You don't pray. We don't want to pray to anybody. Nobody there to pray for us. Buddha is no more. You can't ask anything from outside. But Buddha said, if you practice this, Dhamma is within. Dhamma becomes your own. Eventually Dhamma becomes your own, not the Buddha's Dhamma. That is why it is called Pacchattam Veditabbo Vinyuhiti. It is to be realized by oneself, individually. So this Dhamma is to be understood by ourselves. We can't ask Buddha to give us Dhamma. So in such a way, we practice Dhamma. Whenever we become mindful, we can practice this Dhamma. Then the fourth section, subsection is observing 32 parts of the body. There are 32 parts. Buddha classified this body, this person, into 32. So the Buddha said, observe these different parts and understand the real nature of these things. Real nature of head hairs, body hairs, nail, teeth, skin, flesh, bones, bone marrows, like that. 32 different parts. We have to give attention to these things. That is our meditation. Observing these parts. And then the fifth subsection is observing, understanding the 4 elements in the body. Earth, water, heat, air, these 4. And then the 6th section, Buddha recommended us to observe corpses, dead bodies. In the Buddha's time, the dead bodies were taken to charnel ground, just they throw this away. Then the Buddha asked his disciples to go and observe the dead bodies and understand and compare it with ourselves. We have to compare. This is what happened to me also. From time to time we have to go there and understand the dead body, the stages of dead body, how it's going to be rotten. Then we have to understand that. In this manner, the Buddha taught us how to be mindful on body as body. So there are 6 subsections. We don't want to practice all these 6. Even one enough. And then the Buddha recommended to establish mindfulness on feelings as feelings. We have different feelings in this body. Feelings arises because of contact. Contact means meeting of 3. Internal object, external object, and consciousness. Say for instance, I, form and consciousness. Meeting of the 3 is called contact. Ear, sound and consciousness. Meeting of the 3 is contact. Nose, smell, consciousness. Meeting of the 3 is contact. Then tongue, taste, consciousness. Meeting of the 3 is contact. Body, tangible object and consciousness. Meeting of the 3 is contact. Mind, mental object and consciousness. Mind, consciousness. Meeting of the 3 is contact. It is because of contact feeling arises. There are 3 different feelings. Pleasant feeling, painful feeling and indifferent, neutral feelings. When there is a pleasant feeling, we cling to it. When there is a painful feeling, we push it, revulsion. When there is neutral, we are not knowing what is going on, where we are quite deluded, That is why we have to be mindful. If we are mindful at that moment, we can understand the nature of the object, real nature of the object. Then we can penetrate. We can see through. That is what is insight, vipassana. So, in such a way we practice. We understand feeling as the object. There are different feelings in the body. Not only these three. Buddha said in a particular discourse named Bahu Vedaniya Sutta, Buddha said there are 108 types of feelings. That is another section. That is another establishment of mindfulness. That is the second mindfulness. Second establishment of mindfulness. Then the third one is mindfulness. Buddha said establish mindfulness as mind. Mind as mind. Where we have to understand how we are thinking. We have to understand our mind. The nature of mind. Different states of mind, such as the lustful mind. Whenever we have lust, we have to understand now it is lustful mind. When it is hateful, we have to understand it is hateful, like that. And then the fourth one is understanding mental objects as mental objects. This means realization of Dhamma. We can realize different things. We can realize that 5 hindrances, 5 aggregates, 12 bases. Then we can understand 7 factors of enlightenment. The Noble Eightfold Path, 4 Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. This is how, friends, the Buddha taught us this discourse. At the end of the discourse, the Buddha said, if one practice this according to the sutta, one can attain enlightenment within 7 years. Then the Buddha reduced the time. Even within 6 years one can do that. Then the 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, like that. Eventually the Buddha said within 7 days, if one practice this accordingly, one can attain enlightenment within 7 days. If any residue remains, attain the state of non-returner or anagami. So that is how the Buddha taught us this Dhamma. So the Buddha said this mindfulness is such important thing. That is what is called watchword in the teaching of the Buddha. It is the key in the teaching of the Buddha. Mindfulness. The place given in the teaching for mindfulness is the nucleus. The whole teaching of the Buddha can be condensed into 37 factors of enlightenment. That is the whole teaching. Buddha has never taught all these different things what we talk about today. These 37 can be again condensed into 3 principles. The 4 Noble Truths, the dependent origination, and the 3 characteristics of existence. These 3 like a triangle. In the middle nucleus is mindfulness. That is the most important. That is where we have to start. When we develop mindfulness, we can understand, we can realize this whole Dhamma, whole teaching of the Buddha. So this is why the Buddha said in the Dhammapada, Appamado amata padang. Appamada means mindfulness. Appamada here means mindfulness. Appamado amata padang. Mindfulness is the way to deathlessness, Nibbana. Mindfulness is the way to deathlessness. Appamado amata padang. Pamado machuno padang. Pamada is unmindfulness. Unmindfulness is the way to death. Pamado machuno padang. Appamatta na miyanti. Those who are mindful, they never die. Appamatta na miyanti. Je pamatta yatha mata. Those who are unmindful are just like dead ones. Though they are alive, they live here, they are just like dead persons. So that is why we want to understand this Dhamma. So mindfulness, how this mindfulness leads to liberation. Mindfulness, when developed, not only mindfulness, when we are developing mindfulness, you give your attention again and again to your object, where you are developing clear comprehension as well. Then mindfulness and clear comprehension go together. This is how the Buddha practiced. You know, the Buddha started mindfulness to become mindful. Before his birth, he started from the heaven. In the discourses, Buddha said, when he descended from the heaven, he was mindful. When he was in his mother's womb, he was mindful. So, in early days, you know, he practiced under a rose apple tree. When he was around 5 years, he practiced mindfulness under a rose apple tree, where he developed, he developed the first jhana. And then throughout his life, he was mindful. And he emphasized this. This is the way, mindfulness. That is why it is called key word. It's a watchword, mindfulness. So when we practice mindfulness in this manner, we can understand clearly. That is what is called right understanding. We come to right understanding. Whenever we have right understanding, we are on the first step of the Noble Eightfold Path. You know, the right understanding, right intention or right thoughts, right speech, like that, the Noble Eightfold Path. It starts with right understanding. When we have right understanding, then we are following the Noble Eightfold Path. When we practice right mindfulness, we are practicing those 4 establishments of mindfulness, which lead to right concentration. That is the 8th factor. Then as we are completing the Noble Eightfold Path, we can then understand right knowledge. That is called right knowledge, which is the 4 noble truths. When we realize 4 noble truths, we can complete another factor, which is the 10th factor of the path. In such a way, the path becomes not 8-fold path, but 10-fold path. The last one being the right liberation. That is called right liberation. Why? There are wrong liberations as well. So the Buddha recommended this method, this practice, this path as the path for liberation. That is the mindfulness path. That is the way to understand Dhamma, to realize Dhamma, and to understand, realize liberation. Liberation, according to Buddhism, is the liberation from bonds. What are the bonds? Sansaric bonds. We are bound to samsara through 10 fetters. There are 10 fetters. Sakkaya Ditti, the personality belief. Vichikicca, doubt. Silabbata Paramasa, clinging to rules and rituals. Then Kama Raga, clinging to sensual pleasures. Pathiga, revulsion. Then Rupa Raga, clinging to form, existence of form world. Then Arupa Raga, Rupa Raga, Arupa Raga, formless states. Arupa Raga. Then Mana, conceit. Uddhacca, restlessness. Avijja, the ignorance. So avijja is the last one, ignorance. Ignorance is connected, dependent on taints, underlying tendencies, which are subtle defilements. Those are to be completely exterminated, completely eradicated. Then the person becomes taint free. That one is called Arahant. That is the liberation. Liberation according to Buddhism is not that you go somewhere and be with another. If you stay with another, if you depend on another, you are not liberated. So we to understand liberation is completely destroying, eradicating bonds, and you are released. Then you can understand your mind is liberated, not you are liberated. Where at the end the Arahant, the enlightened one say, it is liberated, not I am liberated. There is no I am to liberate, but there is something to be liberated. What is that? That is our mind. Mind is to be liberated. Once the mind is liberated, we can say that it is liberated. Vimuktasming vimuktamiti jnanam hoti. That knowledge comes. What is the knowledge? Knowledge of liberation. So this is the way to understand Dhamma. Let's understand this Dhamma and let's put this into practice. When we put this into practice in our daily life, we can be happy in daily life. We can live light-heartedly. Wherever we go, we are free. We are not clinging to many things. We know things are changing. Since we know things are changing, we do not cling to things. Our problem is we cling to many things. Whenever we cling to things, we have to suffer because things are changing. Unexpectedly, things change. Then we are not ready to accept it. That is why stress, that is why dukkha. So, to live free from dukkha, free from stress, we have to practice a kind of meditation like this. Let's understand this wonderful Dhamma and put this into practice in our daily life so that we can live happily, peacefully, and eventually one day within this very world we can attain supreme bliss of Nibbana. May we all attain supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.